Welcome to The Explainer. You've probably seen the headlines, right? India's air pollution crisis. It's one of the worst in the world. But what if I told you that beyond all that smog, a new story is starting to unfold? A story that hints at a real turning point, a sign that the fight for clean air might, just might, be starting to work. All right, let's just dive right in and look at the sheer scale of this thing. The 2024 World Air Quality Report, it places India as the fifth most polluted country on the entire planet. And, that's not just some number on a page. That is the daily reality for more than 1 billion people. And okay, if we zoom in from the whole country, the picture gets, well, it gets even crazier. Think about this. Out of the top 100 most polluted cities in the world, a whopping 92 of them are in India. That's just staggering. This isn't just a Delhi problem or a Mumbai problem. It's a national issue, hitting urban centers all across the map. This chart right here, it does a great job of showing you just what we're up against. The national average for something called PM 2.5, and don't worry, we'll explain that in a second, is over 50. Now, the World Health Organization, the WHO, they say the safe limit is 5, just 5. So let's do the math. On average, the air across the entire country is more than 10 times worse than what's considered safe to breathe. 10 times. So what is this stuff we're talking about, this pollution? Well, the main bad guy, the one that causes the most trouble, has a name, PM 2.5. And it's basically an invisible enemy at the very heart of this crisis. Okay, so what is PM 2.5? It's just a sciencey name for tiny bits of stuff, particulate matter, that are 2.5 micrometers across or even smaller. To give you an idea of how small that is, a single strand of your hair is about 70 micrometers wide. So these particles are microscopic. They're so fine they can sneak right past your body's defenses, get deep into your lungs, and even into your bloodstream. And that's what makes them so incredibly dangerous. All right, so the big question is, where is all this nasty PM 2.5 coming from? Let's peel back the layers and take a look at the anatomy of the haze. The stuff that blankets so much of the country.
It's a really complex mix. It's everything from the big stuff to the small everyday things. You got your massive industrial smokestacks and all the vehicle exhaust for sure. But then you also have things like seasonal crop burning, dust from all the construction, and even something as basic as families cooking with solid fuels, wood and cow dung. Every single one of these adds another layer to the smog.
But here's something really interesting, a bit of an insight that actually offers some hope. According to Dr. S.N. Tripathi, who's a top government scientist, this whole problem, it isn't impossible to solve. He figures that if India could just get a handle on two major things, burning waste out in the open and families using dirty fuels inside their homes, pollution could drop by a massive 2/3. I mean, wow, that's a huge statement about where the biggest and fastest wins might be. So, faced with this absolutely staggering crisis, India didn't just sit back. They've launched a whole bunch of different policies, a real multi-pronged attack to try and clear the air. The big one, the flagship program, is called the National Clean Air Program, or NCP for short. Kicked off in 2019, this was a really big deal. It was the first time India had a national plan for air quality, and it came with some pretty ambitious goals to cut down on all that particulate pollution across the entire country. Then, they turned to transportation, and this was a huge move. In a really bold decision, India basically leapfrogged an entire generation of emission standards. They went straight from the old BS4 to the much, much cleaner BS6s. And just look at the difference. Sulfur in fuel, slashed by 80%. Nitrogen oxide emissions, down 70% for diesel cars. That was an absolute game changer for every new vehicle hitting the road. And what about when things get really bad? Like those pollution emergencies, especially around Delhi? Well, they have a plan for that too. It's called GRAP, the Graded Response Action Plan. You can think of it like an emergency playbook. As the air quality gets worse and worse, a whole set of stricter rules automatically kick in. We're talking everything from banning diesel generators all the way up to stopping construction and even limiting traffic. Okay, so we've got the problem, and we've got the policies designed to fix it. But the million-dollar question, right, is, are any of these things actually working? First off, let's be totally clear about something. This fight is a long, long way from over. Experts like Frank Hammes from IQ Air are quick to point out that the situation is still a critical threat to the health of millions and millions of people. And this is a big but, something has changed. If you dig into the data, you find this surprising and honestly really hopeful sign. A bunch of different studies all point to a turning point right around 2018. That's, exactly when these big policies started. And for the first time in decades, that steady climb in pollution, it didn't just level off, it actually started to go down.
This chart just tells the whole story, doesn't it? Look at the left side. For almost 20 years, PM 2.5 levels were just climbing, climbing, climbing. But then look at the right side. What happened after 2018? The whole trend just flips. We start to see a consistent, measurable drop. Now, it's not a huge drop each year, but the fact that the trend completely reversed direction, that is a huge deal.
So what's the bottom line here? The evidence is pretty clear. India's policies are actually starting to bend the curve on air pollution. The air is, very slowly, getting a little bit cleaner. But, and it's a huge but, with pollution still more than 10 times the safe limit, the real challenge is still there. The question isn't really if India can fight this crisis anymore. It's, can it speed things up? Can it move fast enough to give 1.4 billion people the clean, breathable air they deserve? The battle has definitely begun, but the war for clear skies, well, that's far from over.